Hey guys, Onyx here. So before we get into today's video, I thought I would remind you yet again, I am not a mental health professional and don't use anything I say to self-diagnose. This is for learning only. So today's video is about myths regarding tics and Tourette's. I actually found some pretty interesting ones, so let's get into it. So our first myth is everyone with Tourette's swear. That's not really true. Only about 1 in 10 people with Tourette's swear. I know people who have it who don't swear, and people who have it who do swear. Um, Another myth is people with Tourette's can't lead normal lives. That's also not true. Depending on their tics, they might not be able to do certain things, but they can definitely lead fairly normal lives. The next myth is people with tics always tic. People with tics don't always tic. Some can even suppress their tics for short periods of time, something I'll get further into later. The next myth is people only tic when they're nervous. It's not true. People can tic when they're nervous, yes, but they can also tic when they're relaxing. They might tic when they're nervous, but that's not always what happens. I already said that, but just wanted to again verify that. They could be watching this video right now, currently, just kind of relaxing and ticking. Next myth is people with tics get to say whatever they want. That's not true. People with tics usually don't want to say or do whatever they say or do. Although they can't really say something and then be like, oh, that was a tic either. If it wasn't a tic. If it was a tic, that's fine. And usually people can tell the difference between a real tic and a fake tic. I'm saying usually because, some people can't. And that's fine. The next myth is everyone can hold in tics. That's not true either. Not everyone can, and if they can, they usually don't. It takes a lot of energy, and it usually intensifies the severity of the tics. People with tics tic the same amount every day. That's not true. No, nobody does. People with tics don't have a certain amount of tics a day. They can tic more some days than other days. Just kind of depends. The next myth that I have for you guys is probably the weirdest myth out of all of them. And I don't know exactly where it comes from or I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that I can see it, but I think I know where it comes from. That's what I'll say. Okay, so it's only white people get tics, so they don't exist. That's not true. I know that the media shows white people who have tics a lot more often, but not only white people get it, people of all ethnicities get it. Tics don't really discriminate, I guess you could say. Okay, the next myth would make some sense, kind of. People with tics, their tics reflect what they really think and what they really want to say, but they're just too nice to do so. So for that to be true, people with tics would have to think about their tics in a way, and that's not really what happens. That's not true. They don't think about their tics. The next myth is everyone with tics say rude things and make rude gestures. That's not really true. Only about 10% of people will do that. Majority of the time, that's not a tic they'll have. Next is people with tics can't get jobs. That's also not really true. It makes a little bit of sense that you would think that, though. If they have a tic where they cuss, though, then, they can't work with small children or really at any school. And then if they throw things, then they probably shouldn't be a waiter or anything. But I'm sure that there's a job out there for everyone with a tic. So if you have tics, don't worry. You can get a job. It's great. I guess it depends on their tics, like I said. So this one is kind of sad. It's sad that people think and believe this one, but you're here, so obviously you want to learn what's a myth and what's not. So, it's okay. We'll fix this. People with Tourette's are dumb. Well, it might be true in some cases, but it's not because of the Tourette's. Tourette's do not affect your IQ. The next myth is people with tics and Tourette's control when they tic. No, they don't. The best some of them can do is suppress them. But suppressing tics, like I already said, it takes a lot of energy. It's just a big hassle, and eventually the tick is going to come out, and when it does, if you suppress it, it's going to be a lot worse than it was before. So they're just not even going to bother suppressing it most of the time. I have friends who have tics, and I have, I think, maybe one or two that can suppress their tics, and they usually don't because it's really not worth the hassle. They might, if they're doing something super important, they might suppress it, but that's a maybe still, and you know. So the next myth is people with tics can and do control what their tic is going to be. That's not true. They can have situational tics sometimes, but they don't get to pick them still. Even if it's situational, they're still not picking their tics. And you should be able to tell if a tic is fake or not. It's kind of easy-ish, I guess I should say, to tell. And our last myth of the day is medicine is the only way to treat Tourette's. That's also not true. Other ways to cope with Tourette's is CBIT, CBT, and therapy. CBIT, for those of you who don't know, stands for Comprehensive Behavioral Intervention, and then therapy, obviously. And CBT is Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. So CBIT is to help people change their behaviors over time so they tic less. For CBIT, you would need to do 3 simple things. 1, work with a therapist. 2, do homework. And 3, attend therapy training sessions. And CBT helps normalize activity in the supplementary motor region of the brain. I'll go more into those in a future video. So stay tuned for that. That's really all I got for you today. Bye, guys.